I am Devin Kennedy, and I will be talking about our project motivation and key aims. Our goal was to use a generative model neural network to generate new original music. And what I mean by that is take a section of former music to inspire new music that the generative model would generate. And I thought of this because I wanted to see just how creative a machine can be. Naturally, it's a very, they're thought of as opposite, machines being such pure logic, but can that pure logic flow into something that's not? And so new original music can be used for a wide array of purposes, such as anything you might want to put music into, such as video games, movies. And if you have something that you want it to sound similar to, but obviously not exactly the same as, then you could just automatically generate that new piece. But what it also allows us to do is experiment with the very boundaries of what neural networks can do, how far we can push them to be brain-like in not only the logical aspects, but also the non-logical. Let's move on.
Hi, my name is Jared Frazier. I'll be talking about an overview of the strategy and then some of the results we got, so we can fast track to the demo to really see what our generative model was capable of. Okay, so we identified data. This part was fairly straightforward. We saw some video game music data that was available. There's about thousands of musical instrument digital interface format files available for video game music online. And so we processed it. We converted that MIDI data was not usable for the neural network. So we converted it into representable formats. And of course, there are several ways to actually frame the music generation problem. One of which is just doing multi-class classification. I tried that and it wasn't very successful, but what we did find is that multi-label classification, wherein each element of a one-hot encoded vector represents a note, multi-label classification tended to produce more varied and interesting melodies. So once we labeled it and coded the data, we also built the architectures and tuned them. A lot of the tuning was based a lot on listening to the music, as well as sort of maximizing what is known as the Kullback Leibler divergence. So we read through a lot of papers to do that. And then, of course, testing and generating the music, qualitatively evaluating that. So that's just listening to it and then quantitatively evaluating it and the results. So we were able to generate single instrument polyphonic music with high Kullback Leibler divergence, which with a range comparable to the more common classical music studies, which were sort of the basis for music generation. What I mean by single instrument polyphonic music is, single instrument, so piano is what we used, and polyphonic means that chords are available. So monophonic would be just singular notes and sequences. We were able to generate polyphonic music, and our results will be demonstrated in the demo. That's going to be more interesting than me talking about the music. So.
Hello, my name is Romar Yunan, and my contribution to this project was searching for working models and idea who tackle the same problem and see if the code actually work for us or not. also helped with updating the milestone and help run the paper. Thank you so much.
My name is Jared Frazier, and my contribution was to scrape and process the data. I also built working models for the generation of music, and I also helped finish the paper.
My name is Ethan Long, and for this project, I researched methods of evaluating the neural network for when it generated original music.
I, Devin Kennedy, organized the base concept, set up and worked on the paper, and researched generative adversarial networks.
Okay, it's Jared again, and here's the demo. So this is the README that someone would be taken to if they looked at our project. A description, brief title of our network, and then an overview of what it does. And then of course to set up an installation here with links associated with the Anaconda distribution of Python, which is what I use to build the network, as well as one other download in order to actually view the music generated by this particular network. You can use the Music 21, one of the libraries that I import here, to show that sheet music, but it tends to not work. So it's much better to just use some free music notation software, which I put a download there. And then of course I tell the user to go ahead and navigate to the demo.ipython notebook. Take a look at the demo. So here's a summary of purpose. They're gonna generate 2 MIDIs, one of which is a original generated song, something completely new, and the other of which is the song that was used as a input for the network, the song basically that the generated song is based on. So just some standard imports here, a metric that will be used at the end to quantitatively evaluate how different the 2 songs are that are generated. And Keras, of course, Music 21, this is used for the conversion of strings to chords, which are strings to MIDI writable objects to make notes and chords that can be played via audio. So here there's the loading of data with pickled objects as the source of that data, and then an inspection of that data with a description of each particular data set occurring immediately afterwards. Here are several functions which are used to carry out the generation of music. Just compartmentalizing these into functions makes it a little bit more clear, and each function is commented pretty thoroughly with the logic, the main logic being the first common block of the function. Basically what's going to happen here though is a autoencoder, a recurrent autoencoder, or a long short-term memory autoencoder is going to take as input to model a sequence of 8 chords, which are all one-hot vectors. Each chord is represented by a one-hot vector, and then it's going to produce as output from the neural network 8 one-hot vectors, which are vectors of probabilities, of the probability that a particular label belongs to a particular label. And whether it belongs to that particular label is based on the minimum positive classification threshold, which is something that is set by the user. So here are those functions. Then we go ahead and test the network. We load it up, we generate music. Sometimes it'll fail to make a prediction. In that case, I just map input immediately to output. And here are some of the comparisons, quantitative comparisons for how different the Kullback-Leibler divergence is, how different the 2 songs are, and as well as interpreting those results and some references that a user may look at. So here is actually the music that ends up being generated. This is the original song that was used to generate the music. So this is the template song, so to speak, the input. And one more time. And this is the song that's generated by the network. So qualitatively, we can tell that these are in the same time signature, the same key. They have a similar musical coherence, but more importantly, quantitatively, they are actually distinct as indicated by the Kullback-Leibler divergence of around 14. For previous studies, what we saw is that a Kullback-Leibler divergence of around 7 to 15 was what most targets were, what most groups were going for, so that there was a distinctive sound between the music, but it wasn't too distinct. It wasn't too far out there, so to speak. And so that is how quantitatively we evaluated that. So that is the demo.
It's Mario again. This is the end. If you guys have any questions, please let us know. And thank you so much.